because if you have no fear, there is nothing you can't accomplish.
Well, I think when you understand that nobody really gives a shit about you anyway, then you're good.
It was a great line along those like plaidids. It's what would you attempt to do if you knew you could not fail?
So, was that your next question?
No, that's
So, and I've heard that before. I'm actually listening to a book right now on hospitality.
Yeah.
They just said that, quote, in the book today when I was listening to it. So,
cool.
Universe synchronicity.
Call back right there.
Yeah,
but
synchronicity.
it sounds stupid. It sounds cliche. But think about that. Failure is here. Failure happens. But eventually you don't fail. You fail until you don't fail.
Or you give up. If you give up, that's when you
give
fail.
up.
Yeah.
That's when you're about to. It's when you're about to not fail. It's usually when you give up, right? You only have to do it that one more time. But so, what would you attempt to do if you knew you could not fail? Now, in my mind, I'm like, well, there's 100 things I don't want to do, so I wouldn't attempt to do it anyway.
Right.
But that should ring strongly with a lot of people. The first time I ever heard it, my cousin, who's a musician, and he lives in Florida. He plays there now. But he played all over the place, played in California. He grew up in Connecticut, played there. His very first CD he ever made, he must have been 20. Now, CDs were brand new at the time. We were going from tapes, these things that you used like a pencil and you wound it up. Do you remember those things? They still have them.
Yeah. My Rick Springfield tape got a lot of play at the gym.
Oh, don't ever give that up. Anyway, so CDs, they were brand new, and I had just gotten a CD player. I had no CDs to play on it. I had just gotten a CD player, and he was giving them out to all the cousins and all the family. It was called Trial Mile, was the name of his band. And you listen to it, it was like pop rock, late 80s, total like, played it clean, played it safe. And then there's this very last track at the end where you could tell it's like the three guys are just goofballing around on mics, and they brought this orator to come in. And the guy comes in, and he had this, I guess, really high, whiny voice. And then when he got in front of the mic, it just turned into this like giant, deep orator voice. And he just starts saying all these phrases that they were writing down that they could just come up with from anywhere. And some of them were just goofy, stupid phrases. And some of them were like Plato. Some of them were coming from all kinds of philosophies. The very last phrase this is like the last track 13. It's like you're waiting to the very end and it's a little quiet. And then he says, the very last phrase is, what would you attempt to do if you knew you could not fail? And then you hear a little drum crash. And that's it. CD's over. And it sounds so stupid. But, when you're 11 and you play that and you're like, holy crap, that stuck with me forever. Because that was, and I looked at him like, that's exactly what he did. What did he attempt to do? He made a CD. Right. He played, his band made a CD. That was his goal since I knew him when he was a young man. And now he did it. And he's only 20 something, right? Now he's almost 60. He still plays and he's loving his life. He's living his passion. And you kind of look at that and go, I look at my cousin Tony and I'm like, oh, yeah, Tony, I don't dig your music too much. It's not my style. But you do it and you love it.
It only matters that he digs it.
Right. Yeah. It only matters. And that he understood from.
That's Tony calling.
That's Tony calling. What are you doing? So it matters because he saw then what he could do and he set out to do it and it was his passion.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's something I feel like, by being who we are and by being grandiose in these silly ways, we can excite some people as well to say like, hey, it's like these idiots did it.
Honestly, I think if people walked around, I said this before, if people walked around in costumes all day, life would be even more awesome.
Right?
Right? I would like to see like a Tinkerbell walk down the street,
I'm interested as to why you went with Tinkerbell. First thing out of you, like that's what came out. That's the first one that came out.
I like blondes and tight clothes.
Apparently. Little wings too. Yeah.
Angelic.
Fair enough. Well, I think that covers it.
You got your question for me?
Oh, I do have a question for you. The importance, I just wanted to go over, and I think we've already technically addressed this 100 ways. So in a way, we already did this question, but we didn't really nail it the way we're going to nail it now. Being uncomfortable. Okay? So I'm doing this on purpose to Marc for reasons left unsaid. But the importance and the necessity, right? Not just and we're going to talk of it, I think, from a business perspective, because this is where we're going to come from as business owners. But this thing's starting to actually hurt my head a little bit, being uncomfortable and why learning to be okay with discomfort is important.
So the answer to that is growth, right? Mm-hmm. I think, so my belief is like, again, you need contrast to grow. So contrast being like, things that happen to you, circumstances, thoughts, you need them to take the bounce and be more of what you are. The other part of me is like, if you're able to be happy and joyful and appreciative all the time, then things will manifest faster. You go to where you want to go. Well, it's kind of blending those two together because I like being comfortable, but I like growth. Innately, nobody wants to be uncomfortable.
Right.
So what I'm realizing now is that my business was running well. Like I'm fit. My family's healthy. Like I literally have everything going for me. And I like that. But I still have goals. And in order to achieve those goals, I have to make myself uncomfortable by decisions to push me to go further. Right. It's kind of like, if you all of a sudden needed, X amount of money, right? You're uncomfortable. You push yourself harder. Well, if you don't need the money, I'll give you a perfect example. When I started out of PT school, I was living at home. I didn't have any bills. Within, I think, the first year and a half, I had $50,000 in the bank, right? At 27, 28, because I'm good with my money. But I remember going to work. I was like, why am I going to work right now? Like the desire to work for me wasn't there. And I remember that specifically. It was hard to go to work. However, when you're a business owner and you don't have that steady income, and I have payroll, you need to work. I need to take that appointment so I make sure that my staff gets paid. Right? It's because you're in that uncomfortable position. I think it's really for me understanding that, your circumstances don't matter. Only your state of being matters. So only how you respond to those circumstances. So that allows me to be uncomfortable if something happens, but then give it a positive spin or a positive meaning. So if something doesn't go right, I don't have to wallow in it. I could be like, okay, well, this happened because I can then do this, right? And push myself forward. And I think that's the trick. I recently just heard that, as a business owner, you should be uncomfortable, let's say a third of the time.
Yeah.
Right? Because when you get complacent, you don't innovate.
You don't innovate. You get, like you said, you're cozy. We like being cozy, but at the same time, it doesn't do anything positive for us. And we're going to take this one step further now. Now that's very much, we took the business approach, right? Yeah. Outside of the business approach. Now we look at being uncomfortable. The classic one I love to bring up to people is well, have you ever taken a cold shower? No. Why would I do that? Why would you do that? There's a billion health benefits, right? Stimulates your nervous system, stimulates your metabolism, gets your brain going, gets your muscles firing. It closes your pores. Cardiovascularly, it's very, very, very good for you. Why wouldn't you take a cold shower? Because it sucks. Yeah, but why wouldn't you try? You could still take your warm shower and turn it cold for 30 seconds, but you want to be warm. You want to be protected. You want to feel good. So I tell people, try taking a cold shower. Why? Because you need to get used to being uncomfortable. Being uncomfortable means I'm ready to get this knee replacement. Being uncomfortable means I'm ready for you to push it 10 more degrees. It means I'm ready for the challenge of a new exercise. It means I'm ready for the challenge of saying, going to a social situation where I'd be very nervous. And it's almost like training yourself, right? Training yourself with mild discomforts.
Yeah. To callus up.
So that when it's time to make that big, do I do this decision? You're still going to be terrified. I guarantee you. That's the whole point. You're still going to be terrified. It's still going to suck, but you're going to do it.
Yeah, and I think that in business, that the nature that is you're being uncomfortable, right? But in business, you get rejected all the time. It could be, anytime a client leaves, they fire you.
Basically.
Right?
Yep.
So like I've been fired thousands of times.
Yeah.
But it's really understanding that like you get rejected in business all the time. So like if I do a sales thing and somebody, I never like to lose. So you always kind of feel like that. But I'm so used to getting rejected that you just get over it quicker.
Yeah, but that rejection forced you to grow.
Yeah. Yeah. So every time I get rejected in the sales call, I go back to like the thing. And I was like, what did I do?
Right. What was this person looking for? What was I not able to give them? And then you start to say to yourself, okay, well, did I really want to give that? Or is that, is that someone that was going to get weeded out? Or is that something I need to consider?
Right.
Is that something I hadn't thought of? And I think, we're talking about it in business, but I think you have to, as a non-business person, you got to look at it the same way. Like, well, we all grew up in the 80s and 90s with very specific conceptions about the world, right? It was people called Gen Xers, and I love this. There's a gentleman who referred to Gen Xers as like these feral beasts raised by boomers, but who were there to learn, the internet age, that bridge between millennials and boomers. Like we have that same like old school feralness about us, but we have enough savvy and understanding to be sensitive to a new generation and a new era of thinking and being. But at the same time, we were snotty little pricks who said horrible things to people when we were younger because that was the norm then.
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's a lot of things that you would say as a kid that
you didn't even think of because it was the norm.
Yeah.
It was okay. But then you learned from a new generation, basically, that this wasn't okay. And you had the ability, and this is where it made you uncomfortable, right? But I always said that. That's funny. Why would I not say that? Until you made yourself uncomfortable enough to recognize somebody else's predicament.
Yeah. Even someone like me who jokes around a lot, like most of the time my jokes hit, but there's those times when you're like, oh man, I wish I didn't say that.
Right. And it makes you, and you reevaluate and you go,
I was like, sorry.
I got to do better than that.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I got to be better than that. Why? Because this person taught me that. And I feel like that's something, and this is where I'm globalizing it. I'm like, people need that discomfort. Why? It makes them better people.
Yes. If they choose to if they choose to evolve.
Right. If they choose to say, that and that's where people I feel like give pushback, right? Because this new notion makes their old notions uncomfortable. And therefore you reject it. Why? Because I want to be comfortable. Right. Learn to be a little uncomfortable.
And then if you're not uncomfortable, then you're the same from say 20 to 80.
Right.
You didn't grow.
And every once in a blue moon, we'll say, you meet that person who's like, I'll tell you what, but I like it. I like being that same person from 20 to 80. And you go, well, okay, that's you. You're going to do you. And I feel like saying, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But okay.
Personal preference.
99% of the people, though, somewhere in the back of their head, even if they said that out loud, they're going to go, I should be better.
100%.
Right. Yeah. And that's where I feel like find things. And that's why I say take a cold shower. Why? It's an easy way to start getting used to being uncomfortable and seeing things a little differently, giving yourself some perspective. And you come out of there accomplished, right? If you actually do it, you come out of there and go like, oh my God, I did it. I feel good about myself. I did that. Let that carry over and let that like empower the rest of your day and into your life.
And empower others.
Right? And empower others.
Through you.
I mean, we do that all the time in business, right? Because when we land and when we make a connection and when we have that, it's like a high, right? It's like, I did it, right? That was really uncomfortable, but it worked and it came through and the person's excited and they're having a great time and they're getting great results. And I didn't know if it was going to happen, but I had to stick to my guns. And then when it happens, you feel outstanding. You get that I want to do it again. I'm not afraid to be uncomfortable again. Well,
and one of the goals I wrote down for myself recently was like take calculated risk. Yeah. Right. Because like the bigger the risk, then the bigger the reward.
Right.
I just like to make sure that calculated so I have a probability that I will succeed.
Well, at the same time, if you take a completely uncalculated risk, you're setting yourself up for some early failures to learn some hard lessons moving forward.
Right.
Take some calculated risks. It's like a baby step.
Right.
It's like let's start slow. Let's be smart. But it's the great thing to do.
So when we met 20 years ago, when did we meet?
God, I mean, I've been working 20 years, so maybe it's like
Well, it had to be 2000.
It was one of my first years working.
2006.
Yeah.
Did you think this would happen?
No.
Okay.
You were a student at the time, right?
And there was many of me.
And there were three of you technically at the time.
We had
right?
Pavo, we had Sam.
Pavo and Sam. There was three of you guys.
And then Josh had been there earlier.
Was Josh earlier or after?
I think he was earlier, yeah.
Maybe it was. Because, yeah, okay. Josh was before. Him and Sam, they came in right before you guys, and they were my very first students I was ever in charge of.
I didn't know that, yeah.
Yeah. So you guys were like the second group that was ever in charge of.
Yeah.
But as such, like you guys were what, 21?
Yeah.
Right? I was 24. We were basically the same age.
Yeah, but it seemed different.
Because there were different roles.
Yeah, true.
But in reality, you're a 21-year-old? Yeah, I'm a 24-year-old. I do the same stupid things you do. Scarily, right?
Yeah.
So there was a lot of connection between student and PT, like because we were young PTs, a lot of us in that place. But that turned into, right? Meg and I, we weren't even married yet, and we started training with you.
Yep.
And we trained for a while, and actually, we would probably still be training with you. I'd happily be a black belt if I didn't have life.
Right. Yeah.
And if you weren't in Cranston.
True. I get it. So for you, what's the biggest lesson life has taught you?
Biggest lesson life. Well, life has taught me so many lessons. You know what? Probably though, the biggest lesson life has taught me, stop, look around, and appreciate where you are. Hands down, the most important thing life has taught me.
Why do you say that?
Well, because all throughout your life, you'll do some stupid things, right? Why the frig did I do that? Why did I make that choice? And then you think to yourself, if I only stopped and looked around and see what I already got cooking here, I wouldn't have been like, I need to do something different.
Yeah.
You know, and that carries over in a million ways. Like there's a few times maybe I shouldn't bang in the back of the pickup truck when it was taking a turn at 40 miles an hour. I almost died. Like a few things like that where you're like, wow, that was a bad idea. I could have lost all of this. Things that you look at like that. But now I look around. This happens more often now. I look around the clinic and go, wow. You know, like I want to go places, but I am damn lucky to be where I am.
And you did that.
Right? You did that, but it's important, I feel like, to stop and appreciate it and appreciate everybody that brought you there.
You know, it's funny when we really started growing as a business right before COVID. Yeah. And, you know, then COVID hit and then there was nobody in my studio, like within a week, right? Because everything was closed.
Right.
And I was like, wow, like I didn't appreciate to the level I should have these hundreds of people coming through my studio, and then it's gone, right? Because you grow. And I have more fun with it now that I've been through that experience.
Yeah.
But I was like, you know, you just took it for granted. You have 150, you 160, 200, and then you got nobody.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I get excited to see 3 people in the studio, right. You know? And I think that, I think that's one of the biggest issues for me is like, seeing where you are and being satisfied. And don't get me wrong, I'm totally satisfied and appreciative. But like my thing is like goal setting and like going to the next level.
Sure.
And I don't really get to reflect on like where I am. And when I'm on vacation, I do it.
Yeah.
Right. Because when I'm here, it's like work, grow. But when I'm away from it and I can't do anything, then I kind of sit down and then
So I come at slightly different walk of life is where I'm going to come at it. I mean,
you're not a king?
Of course I'm a king.
Okay.
I'm a king with 2 kids.
Yes. Okay.
So I see a slightly different world around me when I leave my work. And I come home and, you know, and it's so easy because you get a little drained. You work with people, you take in a lot of energy, you give a lot of energy, and you come home and you're just tired, right? You need to recharge. I got 2 more starving for energy. Right. And then here comes my wife, who's equally tired in a different way because she's a teacher. She's been giving it to tons of needy, weird, and interesting people. Right. And she's exhausted. So I look at her coming in, I'm like, you're worse off than me. I gotta do something, and you give energy, but then you stop and you have to stop it every once in a while in the whole hub of all of it, because it's draining, and go, sometimes I go to myself, I'm like, shit, should I be a dad? Like, you are a dad. No. As in, like, should I have been a dad? Like, am I doing this right?
You're definitely doing it right. I see your kids.
My point is, like, you look around, you look at yourself and go, wow, I didn't think I could do that. I didn't think I'd get this far. And I feel like I'm calling my dad and going, hey, remember that guy you thought was a big screw up? Kept them alive.
Right. Yeah.
So appreciate it, right? You look at them, and yes, I look at my boys just as much as I look at myself and my business. I go, I can't wait to see what they're going to do next.
So right? yeah, and I come at it from a different angle because I'll be a father later on in life, and people are like, oh, you'll be older. I'm going to be fit. Like, this is what I do. Like,
I agree. It's like, yeah. But if I don't see myself being decrepit, then what's the difference?
Yeah. So that's kind of been my thinking process. But like, because I've been teaching kids for so long, and because I see kids grow up, I'm super excited now to be able to give a child everything I've learned. Let's say it's 6 years in the future, 7, 10 years in the future.
Yeah. Like,
I can already be like, this is how you should do it. Like, this is the knowledge I've already accrued. I can just give it to you. As an older Marc, and going through all these life experiences, and be financially secure and being able to do everything with them because I waited till I was later.
Yeah.
And I'm super excited about that. And I kind of get off on it now where, like, I can see your kids grow up, right? Knowing you, and then, like, I was at your wedding. I don't know if you remember that. And but now your kids, right? And so I just feel like I'm super excited about that. And when you talk about the kids, because now obviously I'll be 40 without kids, and it's two different lives, right?
Well, you come at viewing things from different perspectives because you see a few different things.
Yeah,
that's it.
But I like, there's a part of me that's like, I love that life.
Yeah,
it's just not for me right now.
Fair,
right?
It's wonderful. I also sometimes look and I go, geez, I wonder what I could accomplish if I was in that life.
Yeah.
But that's when I stop and go, well, look what I have.
Yeah.
That's when you stop to appreciate where you are. At the same token, like for you might say, I can't wait for that phase. And I'll go, well, look at where you're going now.
Yeah, no. So you said something really nice to me the other day when we were talking. I forgot exactly what it was, but it was heartfelt. Do you remember what it was?
Pretty sure, but I'm gonna let you go with it. So
man, it was like something like, I can see where you're going. I can see the route you're taking. Like, I want you to do that, to accomplish that.
This is why I wanted you to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because I could see, I was looking at it through a lens, right? My lens, and my lens is my family. And do I take my version of a calculated risk versus your version of a calculated risk? And for me, the biggest risk is going to be, I'm going to buy my building. That's going to be a big investment and security and moving forward and build a deeper root for my future and for my business and for my family. It's like, but I've watched you grow, right? From the outside since you were 21, school, right? Then I got to witness you as just a jiu-jitsu instructor, and now in the Sokudai, and now as a business owner. And I'm watching this progression going, here comes the next Tony Robbins. And I see all the different things he wants to do. And I see he wants podcasts, and he's always coming at me with, gee, I learned this, gee, I learned this, gee. And I'm going, he's absorbing, and he wants to do a million things. And then I look at your situations and I go, he needs to become really uncomfortable now and make this big jump, sink a little bit, and then shoot through the roof. And I see it happening. And I'm almost like, ooh, maybe I can play with this a little too. Maybe I can play in that sandbox.
Right.
I can't be the person in that sandbox. I only am going to be this person who maybe gets to play in it. You're the one who's going to build that sandbox. And that's what I saw.
Yeah, and I thought that was nice. And you even said it better than that to me personally. Yeah, you definitely said it better. But I think that's the thing, right? Because like life is about interactions with other people. And, you know, I'm at this point now where you're just trying to find out who's going to be on the path with you and who's going to turn your back on you.
Yeah. Right.
You know, and I'm not going to be mad if somebody doesn't want to go on the journey with me because that's their objective.
And they might be going a different way.
And they might be going a different way.
Right.
But the people that do want to go on the journey with me, man, I'm connecting with them on levels I never thought I would connect with people.
Fair.
Right?
Yeah.
It extends even to the assistants that we have in like the Philippines and stuff like that because we work with a lot of them. And they will be like, just the feedback they give me, Marc, I love working for you. Like, you know, and I'm like, I'm running a business in Cranston, Rhode Island.
Right.
I have like 7, 8, 9 people in the Philippines and in the Ukraine doing stuff, working with me and being like, Marc, I love working for you. Like, I'm so happy. My family loves you, you know, and I'm like, I'm just a regular guy in Cranston.
Right.
But just because I'm taking a step to be uncomfortable, do these things, I'm supporting them as well. And I've never met them.
Right. That's amazing.
Yeah, it feels really good. But I can give them, you know, bonuses for the holidays to them.
To them.
And because the currency's different. Right. So like $100 for us is way different. For them. And I'm like, I could do that. Yeah. And I'm like, a couple $100. Like, I'd rather give it to them. So one of my assistants, she bought a house. She bought a car in the Philippines from working at home.
Flabbergasting.
Yeah,
it's amazing. And and once again, I can appreciate that. I'm looking at it from my world, but to be able to influence, right, someone's life so profoundly. And in your world, you're like, but I just did a simple thing. Right. It was nothing. It was like, I just took 2 seconds extra of my time, or I extended this tiny little olive branch of a bonus. And I thought it was just being nice. But in reality, that was life-changing for them.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
Listen, they share like, you know, birthdays with me, celebrations. They'll be like, Marc, can you pay me early? Because we want to get this feast for like this party.
Yeah.
And they show me the pictures. And I'm like, again, I'm just a martial arts instructor, physical therapist from Cranston, you know, and like just because I'm able to bring this in and share it, like that's worth more to me than any amount of money you could give me.
Right.
You know? But I thoroughly enjoy this. We have to go eat.
Yes, we have to
go eat. We definitely have to go eat.
It's going to kill me. Yeah. Home so late.
All right, let's go. Hello, my name is Dr. Marc Bochner. Don't forget to check out my new book, Pug Learns to Believe. Hey guys, Dr. Marc here. Now I know a lot of you want to know how we get all these amazing results with our clients, and it comes down to 3 things. The first is fun fitness classes that burn a lot of calories. 2 is giving you an accountability coach to make sure you stay on track and get the best results. And 3 is the nutrition. Included in the nutrition is our food supplement. So we pair with Prestige Labs because I feel they are the best, they have integrity, and they get great results. These are actually the supplements that I take as well. Here's the awesome part. By clicking the link below, you can save 40% off the retail price. So you need that link to actually save 40%. If you just go to the normal site without my link, you're paying full price, okay? So these are the supplements my clients use. If you are interested, definitely click the link below and it'll tell you all about them.